Good afternoon, dear professors, the chairman, and members of the State Attestation Commission, as well as postgraduate students. Let me start today's master's dissertation defense. It was assigned according to the order. The chairman of State Attestation Commission, Doctor of Philosophy on Philological Science, Vipsanem Aynazarovna Arzieva, Associate Professor of Department of English Language and Literature of Nuku State Pedagogical Institute. The Deputy of State Attestation Commission, Doctor of Philosophy on Mathematical Science, Lambertina Zimbaevich, Head of the Master's Department of Karakalpak State University. Members, candidate of the Dean of the Faculty of Political Science, Gauhar Batirovna Joldasova, Head of Department of English Linguistics of English Linguistics Department of Karakalpak State University. Candidate of Philological Science, Dilbar Tajumuradovna Hajieva, Associate Professor of English Linguistics Department of Karakalpak State University. Udira Bambaevna Khadırbayeva, Associate Professor of Distance Learning Department of Nuku State Pedagogical Institute. Ulmira Adilbaevna Usenova, Associate Professor of Distance Learning Department of Nuku State Pedagogical Institute. Utemratova Gulzal Urgenchpaevna, Assistant Coordinator of Organization of Doctors Without Borders. And now it's time to announce undergraduate students. The first one, Kaipirgenova Hudliman Danyarkhaza, with scientific work comparison of verb tenses in the Uzbek and English language. Scientific advisor, Shalgasov Nurjan, Doctor of Philosophy on Philological Science, Associate Professor of the Department of English Language and Literature of Nuku State Pedagogical Institute.
Good afternoon, teachers. I'm Kaipirgenova Hudliman, and my research work is comparison of verb tenses in the Uzbek and English languages. Today, I'm going to tell you about the comparison between Uzbek and the English languages. As we know that verb is one of the most important grammar topics in languages, not only in English but also in other languages. So the verb, it means action. So pay attention of my research work is object is not present at comparative typology of English and the Uzbek languages. So this the object of my topic is present tenses of both languages, both in English and also in Uzbek languages. Okay. In our investigation, the first aim is to investigate verb tenses not only in English but also in Uzbek languages. As we know that verb plays the main important role in our grammar rules, so we can imagine our life without action, so verb means actions. So one of the most important rules created, one of the best scientists is Shego. He described it in his works that in oral speech in English, he chose a great deal of books from American and British books, from their articles. Especially, it gives the times in 1915s. So, as a result, he discovered that both in English and in American language oral speech, there are thousands words. I mean, dialogue words between these two. So, first of all, I want to say that in our speech every day, so tenses, past, present, and future, So what kind of difference between them we can say? For instance, in present simple, we use singular nouns. When we use I, we, they, you, we shouldn't add s affix in our verbs. Also, but we add s and es to the short form of the noun. To, he, she, it. In this case, we add s and es. And in Uzbek version, for instance, men ketyapman, u ketyaptı, bizler ketyapmız. In that case, at the end of the verb, we can choose, we have to add some affixes to our verbs, verb words. Uh, so, I want to say about Sheikha that he describes a lot of verb tenses in his works. So, for instance, he said that present indefinite is used 44.5%, and the past continuous 13, future 5.5%. And the present perfect 3.7%, and the present continuous 3 and 4%. So, in my next paragraph, I want to say about Uzbek grammar. In the Uzbek grammar, the verb plays the main role. In the procedure of making sentence, the verb comes as a predicate. We know that predicate in sentence play the main role. So this predicate in Uzbek language differs from English language because it's placing at the end of the sentence, but in English we can't use at the end of our sentence. Also, verb is divided into two types: structural and significant. What is the difference? Structural is the open system and significant, independent, and complete. Significant verbs we can use in our speech without any affixes, without any help verbs because they are independent. However, structural verbs are our sentence and to complete our they don't have any meaning. I want to say that around 30, 100, and 1,000 words we use in our speech. I mean verbs, verb words. And by Sheikho, he said that non-verbal forms of verbs fluctuated from 6.6% to 21.7%. In fact, they are considered the following verb tenses of indicative mood in common use. We use present indefinite, past indefinite, future indefinite, present perfect, and present continuous. According to Shaiko, in these five tenses, in some of it, 70% of all predicative units, when in other tenses of indicate and indirect moods, comes in some only 7.4%. The last work of this period was made by Sheiko that by Sweet maintains one of the period where introduced of logical aspect of Latin. And during the first half of the 20th century, as intensive development of this grammar has taken place. And in conclusion, I want to say that verb plays one of the main important rules in our speech because verb means action. So all people in the world do some actions in our life. So verb, when we learn English, the first important thing is verb. There are a number of difference between them. I said above difference between them. There are a number of difference between them. So I said above difference between them.
What is the object of your investigation?
Present tenses of both Uzbek language and Uzbek language typology. We have mentioned about it.
How about for example?
Yes. For example, we can say that in Uzbek languages, tenses, there are three types of tenses: past, present, and future. And when we examples of these English languages. For instance, in short form, we have to use a s and the es. For instance, he, she, it. In this, we should have add s and es affixes. So there is a difference between them.
Thank you. So while comparing, did you find any traces of similarities, especially
Yes.
in Uzbek and English?
Yes. Written books from these books, and he described in his works that in everyday speech, 30,000 verbs in their speech. I have found such kind of information for me as useful information.
So from Uzbek also is similar?
No, in Uzbek, I want to say in percent, 80% we use in our everyday speech. Verbs. Verbs. Yes.
Tenses.
Yes.
Tenses.
Yes. Also, tough differences between them, or only affixes. For instance, in Uzbek language, we also add affix. In English language, also add affixes.
So did you try to find examples for in Tagalog language?
Kargopak language, yes. Kargopak language, yes. For instance, also in English, in Uzbek, and in other languages, we use auxiliary and main verbs. Auxiliary verbs, it doesn't have any meaning. In Uzbek, we say kumakchi fiiller. Also in Karabakh language, kumakchi fiiller, мәнілі fiiller. Мәнілі fiiller'in өзі жаңасы мәнісі болады, ал kumakchi fiiller'in мәніге ие емес. Олар тек біздер сөз жаратқан уақытымызда қасында сөзді құрауға, датты құрауға жәрдем беріп жүреді да.
Okay, can you give us examples?
Uzbek.
English.
For instance, I can say one example in Uzbek language. Men ertaga bozorga bormoqchi edim. Bu masalan, in this sentence, we can't complete our sentence. Men ertaga bozorga bormoqchi. We can't add this full stop because it's not complete sentence. Bize bu жерде графымызды точкамен жауа алмаймыз да. Жаңа еді, еміш, едім, in Uzbek auxiliary verbs, it helps to complete our sentences.
Whose works on this issue did you find you analyzing your work?
Shaykov?
Only Shaykov, that's all?
Yes, one of the main.
What about Uzbek scientists? Kapak scientists?
Yes.
Russian scientists, maybe?
Yes, Hojabekov said that in our speech, 80% we use verb tenses, like his works.
How about literary texts? I not find any literary texts, in geography.
examples where have taken. Yes. Examples where have taken this examples where have taken this examples. Just few examples you have analyzed here, right?
Yes, yes.
There should be more examples.
Okay.
Just few examples you have analyzed here, right?
Yes, yes.
There should be more examples.
Okay.
But now look at the text, yes? Am I right? Did you take materials examples from other literary works?
No, no, no, no.
Just the given examples in scientific literature.
Yes, yes. Just
Right?
kidding. No. Yes, yes.
It is not enough for scientific.
Yes.
It's not enough.
For analyzing.
No, you should analyze more examples.
Yes. Because there's verb and there's grammar, English grammar, English grammar, a lot of examples.
Valla ben inatlı ederek soruyorum.
Why?
A lot of examples.
Valla ben inatlı ederek soruyorum.
Why?
Ama
Thank you very much. Salvatore konuşuyor.
yapıyoruz ya şöyle. Hangisi dersleri var üstünde orada? Hangisi dersleri var üstünde orada? İyi bir şeyler.
The reviewers of this qualification thesis are Doctor of Philosophy on Pedagogical Science, Associate Professor of English Language and Literature Department, Murat Ramil. Second review, Doctor of Philosophy on Philological Science, Gulzira Khvambayevna Khadrbayeva, Associate Professor of Distance Learning Department of Inglis State Pedagogical Institute.
It was just read the last point. Review.
Review. Puliman review. Review, tak, uzmą użyli. Okay, yeah. Okay, the next undergraduate student is Kaipanova Fatima Ganibayevna with scientific work, particular use of set of expressions in English and Karakalpak language. Scientific advisor Sitva Damigor, candidate of philological science.
Good afternoon, dear teachers. I'm Kafana Fatima. My topic is about peculiar use of set expressions in English and Karakalpak languages. The study of foreign languages highly developed in our country. We want to start teaching and learning foreign languages. The study of fixed and set expressions, such as idioms, phrasal verbs, and types of multi-word lexical units. Attempts have been made to approach the problem of phraseology units in different ways. In this situation or in this condition showed to us, there we can see the different kind of scientists' opinions and the definitions. The complexity of the problem may be largely accounted by the fact that the borderline between free word, variable word groups, and the phraseological unit is not clearly defined. Here we can see the terms about phraseological units. Equivalents. The basic criteria semantic but also functional separate of certain word groups and the aptness to function in speech as single words. And there we can see more terms about phraseological units. Consequently, the first thing we noticed that different theories or different definitions give a reason for us. General categories under which the unit, the group of phraseological phenomena. For example, Vinograd's, Glasser use the umbrella term phraseological units, or other linguists, Kunin or Arnold, prefer the set expressions, or multiple phrases, and so on. There is a next part is classification of phraseological units. According to the Smirninsky, they should be regarded as a part of the lexical system, a fact that allows us describe their semantic relationships with other lexical units. Smirninsky explains or especially compared to phraseological units between words and free word groups. Relevant the criterion of functional inseparability, Smirninsky differentiate the following groups of stereotyped phrases. Phraseological units, idioms prefer traditional phrases. For example, idioms, take the ball by the horns, or traditional phrases, clenched fists, also phraseological combinations, to get up, or and so on. Traditional phrases which are characterized by reproducibility. Also, we can see that according to Vinograd's classification system, phraseological units divide into three groups: phraseological fusion, phraseological unities, and phraseological collocations. Also, here given some examples of Vinograd's systems according to semantic opacity and the structural stability. Phraseological fusions, for example, spill the beans, or phraseological combinations or collocations, for example, take a liking, meta demand. Here we can see a special attention of phraseological units, especially Kunin. His umbrella term is a set expressions. Also, depending on our topic, set expressions, according to the Kunin, set expressions divide into three groups: phraseological units, phraseomatic units, and the mixed class of underlying cases. Phraseological stability of use, or lexical semantic stability, set expressions can be defined. For example, phraseomatic units, winner victories, launch a company. Next part is stylistic characteristics of set expressions. Stylistic characteristics of set expressions, it's have their own features. These are their euphonic, imaginative, and connotative. Also, it includes the proverbs, cliches, alliterations, puns, reels, imagery, contrast, and so on. For example, here we can see the example of proverb. For example, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. It also give expressive meaning and stable word groups. As you know, phraseological units is a stable word groups and ready-made units. In a Karabakh language, we can witness some kind of phraseological units in a sentence or in a conversation or a literary works. For example, in a Karabakh language, Kanejie şer izінен ер сөзінен қайтпайды деген баяғы сөзім сұрап жүрген уақытым болды. Бір сөзді жігіт болса, нөкерлік лыпасты киіп, жолға түсесің. Here we can say in a Karabakh language, şer izінен ер сөзінен қайтпайды. This kind of word groups, stable word groups, give a reason to say the phraseological units. The structure of phraseological units. Phraseological word combinations. Here we can see four type of structure of phraseological units. First one is phraseological word combinations functioning like verbs. For example, üskünü kuyulu, bağır basu, uyunun uçuna çöktüzü. Also substantial phraseological word combinations. For example, minute, kun, ağız birlik, көз қиығы. Also, adjectival phraseological word combinations. Жеті қырлы, қаз мойын. Also сәуін. Adverbial phraseological word combinations. Екі жолдың ортасында. For example, the classification of phraseological units. In Karabakh language, we can hear two types of classification phraseological units. First one is, according to Yeshpai, phraseological units divide into three types of phraseological word groups. First one is, in Karabakh language, frazeologiyалық бірлік, frazeologiyалық өтлесу, frazeologiyалық тізбек. For example, frazeologiyалық өтлесуді. Олар қызының айтқан сөзін кемпірінің естіп төбе шашы тікке болды. Also, сөздің қиюын кестіріп, қамырдан қыл суырғандай сөйлегеніне таң қалды. Қамырдан қыл суырғандай, төбе шашы тікке тұрды. This kind of stable word groups call it phraseological stable word combinations. Next one is phraseologiyалық бірлік. For example, ол сөздерімді құлағым шалып терең мәнісін аңламай қалдым. Құлағым шалып. Also, phraseologiyалық тізбек. For example, келгендерін ешкімге сездірмей, не білгені ішінде болып орнына барып, қалай келген болса солай жатты. Не білгені ішінде. Another scientist, according to Berdimuratoglu, phraseological units semantically divided into four groups. First one is frazeologiyалық бірліктер, frazeologiyалық өтлесулер, frazeologiyалық тізбектер, frazeologiyалық сөздер. For example, frazeologiyалық өтлесулер. Түйе үстінен ит қағу, ала жіпті кесу, тіл менен орақ ұру, жүрек жұту, and so on. Frazeologiyалық бірліктер. Өкше көтеру, құлақ тұру, аяғы жерге тимеу. Also, frazeologiyалық тізбектер. Қабақ үйу, қаз мойын, көзі тыну. And frazeologiyалық сөздер жасының жаты болмас, жаманның ұяты болмас, ұсталы елділер. All types of phraseological units have a stable word, stable form, and a ready-made speech. The use of sex expression in the English language. Examples. These parties include some kind of literary works, especially proverbs, idioms, and examples of idiom in literature. The next part is the importance of using set expressions in Karabakh language. In Karabakh language, phraseological stable word groups divide into 3 groups according to user peculiarities and context. First one is neutral, second one is oral, and the third one is written. Burada usluplu frazeolog söz düzbekleri, söylü tiline tan frazeolog söz düzbekleri, mesela жазба tiline tan söylü söz düzbekleri. Examples of phraseological word groups in literature. For example, si көрерсең, сыйлай білсең егерсің. Топал болсаң, абырайыңды төгесең, қатты сөзден ешбіреуге пайда жоқ, ере білспей, татlı сөзден жеңесің. Here, si көрерсең, сыйлай білсең. In conclusion, phraseological word groups have similarities and differences in both languages. Especially, we find this kind of context or conditions. Phraseological word groups, it's not easily change its stable form or not translated word by one language to another language. Also, they are historically developed in. I have to say that is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Can you give definition of set
This expression.
Are there any differences? Phraseology and set expression.
Set expression is a stable word groups. In phraseology, the study object of. Yeah, sorry. Phraseological units and the set expressions. In phraseology, it includes some kind of terms, especially umbrella terms. Phraseological units and the set expressions, it means giving one meaning, giving one meaning, and now one verb sentence. How can I say?
Object of your explanation.
Object. The peculiarities of the set expressions in English and Karabakh languages.
What methods or techniques or analysis did you use for analyzing data?
Especially comparative methods.
Comparative methods?
Comparative methods, also contrast. Linguistic also.
Linguistic, what kind of?
It's a not method, but it's a comparative feature of comparative methods. We compare two languages.
So,
As a differences and the similarities of phraseological word groups in English and Karabakh languages. From my point of view, set expressions and the phraseological unit.
three examples, give us examples in English and in Karabakh. For example, set expression in English and Karabakh, then one physiological unit in English and Karabakh.
In Karabakh language, set expression, phraseological.
In English. So, set expression.
In For example, in English, to fish in troubled waters. To fish in troubled waters, or what a rainy day. Also, it means recite over the meeting. First night. Phraseology.
Phraseology this is an expression. With its meaning. Yes?
First night. Yes, it says.
Yes,
Indian.
Кейси контентта егер повторить etib tursanda, ular beshinchi masqasada, birinchi chaptada klassifikatsiya.
Yeah, right.
Ya, uning o'rnida avtor bu
Yeah.
bo'yicha so'zlar
Yeah.
sitatsiya.
Nega birinchi ana qo'yganimda, o'zim o'yimcha ingliz tilincha bergan klassifikatsiya.
Mukovatsiya bor, o'yincha bo'lmaydi u.
Сөйтіп екіншісіне қарабақ тіліне сөйтіп берген ғой.
Qarabağ tili kimga bo'lsa soncha. Hozir Qarabağ tili psixologiyasiga kitobda 1, 2, 3, 4 to'rtinchi yozibsan. Ish paytida kitobni besalonchi yozibsan.
Ustoz ana har betini takror netdimi? Bu yoqqa tez ssылка berganimda.
Kitap aslında ssылка berguncha bo'lib yozilmaydi. Bir jurnallardan yazsan şurada söyleyeyim. Yine alfabetin karakterisini bir şey eterdiniz ki. Na başlayıp her mesajlarda zaten. Problemin aktörü çok, problemin teması çok. Ama nasıl söyleyemezsiniz?
Yoqqa ссылка bo'lgan.
Это же люди какие-то еще завтра. Я же стимулировал.
Комиссия ағзаларының шешімін қабыл етіп аламыз. Комиссия ағзаларының шешімін.
Бұл енді шықты уже шыққаннан қайтамыз. Енді онан туғап келсе, оценка болады да. Туғап келсе,
Оған ешкім оценка жоқ тұғын. Міне ондай қылғансыз.
Отырын әшін ойласын айтамыз.
The reviewers of philological science, head of the Department of English Language and Literature Department, and next Hajiba Alia, candidate of Pedagogical Science, head of Department of English Language and Literature of Nuclear State Pedagogical Institute. Okay. The next undergraduate student is Ibragimova Asal Рустамбековна. With scientific work, роль и место наглядности презентации повышения эффективности обучения иностранному языку. Scientific advisor.
Doctor, professor.
Yes. Doctor of Philological Science. Doctor of Philological Science. Samarkand State Foreign Language Institute. Professor.
Good afternoon, dear members of the Commission and dear professors. I'm Ibragimova Asal, and the topic of the dissertation is the role and place of visual aids and presentation in improving the effectiveness of teaching foreign language. The content of the dissertation work consists of the followings. The first one is introduction, then chapter 1, which is about the concept of visibility's involvement in the process of foreign language acquisition. Chapter 2, application of visual aids and presentation in the process of learning English. And the third chapter is about visual and multimedia support for language instruction. The actuality and relevance of the research can be explained with the fact that the use of visual aids is one of the resources for intensifying the process of teaching English, and it contributes to the more effective development of learners' perceptive and receptive skills. The object of the research is to investigate the principle and role of visual aids in teaching English. And the subject of the research is to study theoretical and practical aspects of visual aids and presentation. The aim of the research is consideration of visual aids and presentation and selecting effective types of visual aids in the teaching process. And there are some tasks of the research which are to define the notion of visibility, to consider the concept of visual aids and presentation in the teaching process, to explore types of visual aids, to disclose the sense of visual aids and presentation on the basis of psychological and pedagogical literature, and to identify the methodology of the use of visual aids and multimedia in the process of teaching English. The novelty of the research lies in the fact that by now there have been written many works devoted to the cognitive visualization in general, but in this paper the problem is presented from the point of view of teaching English in secondary schools and selecting effective types of visual aids. The research provides valuable insights into the use of visual material in the classroom in teaching a foreign language, which contributes to the activation of cognitive activity of learning and to expand their worldview and increase their ability to pay attention and their interest in the English courses. Moreover, the use of visibility in English lessons is the best way to activate attention and to build their interest in the subject. The hypothesis of the research, the principle of visibility depends on the educational process. The teachers desire to find our effective method of teaching a foreign language. So, chapter 1, getting pupils' attention is the major challenge in the teaching process, and making the lesson entertaining and effective and practical is a teacher's responsibility. The availability of various teaching techniques and educational work formats are crucial to finding solution to this issue. As visual imaginative thinking predominates in fifth graders and overall in young learners, they proceed the information not only orally but also symbolically. As a result, English language instructors actively employ visibility as an extra strategy for helping students remember and retain knowledge, as well as improving the ability to pay attention and use imagination, as well as the visual and emotional memories. According to PASSEV, there are five types of functions of visibility. The first one is motivation. Visual aid is used to arouse learners' interest in the educational materials that they will study in the lesson. The second, instruct students on some kind of safety rules or sequence of performing various kinds of works. The third function is teaching. Visual aid is used in order to complement students' knowledge along with teacher's explanation. The fourth function is illustrative function. A visual aid is used as an illustration to explain new educational material. And the last function is generalizing. Visual aid is used in order to generalize and consolidate students' knowledge on a particular section or information. A few things could be kept in mind while visual method is used. The first and most important one is visual aid should be appropriate for learners' age and level. Students should clearly perceive the material being demonstrated, and while using visual aid, one should be sure to prominently display the particular slide. Visibility should only be used prominently and at the right time in the lesson. Explanation should be carefully considered, and visibility must correspond to the material substance. Visibility may be used in two different ways. The first one as a tool for learning and as a tool for recognition. In the first scenario, when visibility is used as a tool for learning, carefully chosen audiovisual aids, for example, videos, tables, diagram, charts, they all aid students in mastering lexical, grammatical constructs, and also helps them to understand the speech by ear and express your thoughts in different communicative contexts. When visual aid is used as a tool for recognition, it educates about the culture or nation of the language being studied. The second chapter, application of visual aids in presentation in teaching process. Currently, the most frequent method of audio visualization is audio recording. However, there is one drawback of audio recording, which shouldn't be overlooked. There is a lack of exterior side of audio recording, which are facial motions, movements, and gestures. And movies, television, videos provide more options than audio recording do, where the lack of visual clarity makes it difficult to understand, to perceive a foreign language. The use of video films, different kinds of pictures and presentation during the lesson establish an extra language environment in which students perceive a huge quantity of information through two channels at once, oral and visual, in a short period of time allocated for watching video. The hardest of learning a foreign language is acquiring listening and speaking abilities. And furthermore, learning to listen is a prerequisite for learning to speak, and they come together in order to form one oral communication act. Modern life requires the ability to speak a foreign language. That is why the issue of learning a foreign language has become more relevant than ever. However, according to the analysis of vocabulary exercises, it can be concluded that vocabulary exercises, the complexity of vocabulary exercises are not carefully considered. That is the reason why most learners do not speak a foreign language because of lack of vocabulary. Visibility is vital while providing lexical information because particularly at the familiarization stage when pupils do not yet know the meaning of the word. That is why it's essential to use visual aids during the lesson when explaining the meaning of words. Conclusion. So it's difficult to argue against the advantages of visual aids and presentation, but poor usage of the integration of visual aids and presentation. And in short, visual aids make the material clearer and deep thinking and critical thinking too. Thanks for your attention. Computer technology is crucial. Without them, teaching would be extremely boring, not only for